had a series of big signs that he held up for us. This way, that way, do this, do that. Vocation is the call to belong totally to Jesus, with the conviction that nothing can separate us from his love.
Subcultures form when a minority group begins to identify itself as being different from the majority.
Say you're an evangelist within the church and you start challenging people, start saying, no, this needs to be different, even if you're saying it in as encouraging a way as you can, that can be harder.
So there's something about saying it's asking yourself, is this where God is putting me now?
Well, that fits with me exactly. But I kind of think, okay, well, we're really good idea to ground this.
So I've come because I need to get some support, and I feel like I'm getting that so far. The minis have been very interesting, and yes, it does make me realise that people are doing work in the church and people that are just like me, really. You don't have to be perfect to be working in the church's ministry.
Well, I'm hoping that it's going to help me discern where God wants me. I'm looking into the possibility of ordained ministry and lay licensed ministry, but I've just been to a youth group and that was really helpful, talking all about community and subcultures within our church and things. Yeah, it's just been a very joyful day so far.
I think it's been certainly very helpful. The main thing for me has been trying to figure out whether or not my calling is genuine. And I spoke to one of the speakers afterwards, and he was really helpful.
Well, I think there's a wealth of information which is here. Certainly picked up quite a few leaflets. I've often found that God works in me in specific ways, and I'm often led or I meet people at the right time.
I think really just in having some idea of the scope of opportunities in the church. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be the stereotypical vicar. Yeah, just sort of exploring the other types of people who are interested in this type of work. I have no idea why I'm here or what I'm doing, but I'm just open to whatever.
Well, to be honest, when I first came here, I wasn't really expecting much, but God, I think, spoke to me within about the first 5 minutes, so it exceeded my expectations from that perspective. I came to the course this morning with a number of questions that I needed answering. Those have been answered, so that's great.
It's just been really interesting to be aware of all the options there are, which I didn't know about. It was our local vicar who suggested that I should come, and because my own faith I feel is pretty shaky, it suffered a bit through losing my husband very suddenly and so on. And we've been looking at the ways in which our own local church needs to grow in size, and that means bringing in young people, and I've been looking at the possibilities to do that.
I'm Beverly Vincent. I'm the Pastoral Assistant Training Coordinator for the Diocese, and I've been asked to run a workshop this afternoon for those that are exploring pastoral care training. Oh, I've no doubt that we'll get some good questions. We usually do.
I'm really not on this journey on my own. Everyone's had their own way of finding things out and getting the information that isn't so widely available with other jobs. It's been brilliant. I've learnt so much already, and we're only at lunchtime. Just been to the workshop on ordination and lay ministry, and just listened to him talk about how we can hear God's voice and in which ways we can hear that, whether that's our inner conscience or through the scriptures and things like that.
It's been useful hearing stories of how God's called people out of different situations, and also how that sense of calling has developed, that it hasn't been just a sort of a one-off thing and that then's been missed, but that it's been something that's been consistent throughout their lives. And I think I found that immensely helpful, that God can sort of be continually calling us and that we can cooperate with Him.
It's great to be able to share your stories and share your experiences, and you really take something away from that to help you move forward.
Sense of we all come from different traditions, but we all have so much to offer together, and it's the interweaving and the sharing of our experiences and our own vocations and the riches of the traditions that we come from, and then exploring the traditions that other people have come from. And so something like this as well is a chance to make those connections.
It's quite surprising, isn't it? I think sometimes when you see things from your perspective and what you're used to, and you think that's right and that's the only way to do it, and then you hear somebody else's experiences and different ways that they may worship or lead things, and you just think, wow.
That sense of journeying. Nobody's finished. I mean, you look at Archdeacon Annette, you look at Philip Mead, the DDO, they're still travelling. We're all still travelling together. And so it's not as if you get ordained and then your journey stops and then you turn and be the expert. There's no sense of that in the church. It's very much that we're all still travelling.
I came here completely on the spur of the moment. I just sort of vaguely remembered that this was happening, and I came without any sort of preconceptions of quite what to expect and what I would find. But I knew I would find some sort of idea of where I might be going. And the thing I found extraordinary here today has been the personal stories of people who have made the journey, found that God had moved them in a completely different direction from the one they were expecting, that life and that their vocations were not straightforward, and that the whole thing can be quite a step into the unknown, and also that to know where God isn't calling you and moving to something else.
Being here, being around other people who even though you're not on your own, and other people are searching for their calling in God as well, and that there's different paths you can take. Once you go down a path, you don't have to follow that path. You can go off on different angles and other paths. I think the takeaway is not to be afraid of having in your mind what you think you want to do, but then actually your calling is something different, and that's not wrong. You're not letting anyone down. It is God's calling for you, whatever they may.
It gives people first a chance to see that they're not alone, and secondly to talk, particularly in the workshops, over coffee and refreshments, about just the things which are on their minds and what needs to be talked about, which they might not be able to do perhaps in their own parish situation.
Well, I love coming to these things because it gives me a sense of hope. You see all these people with all their different stories, and they've all come from so many different places, and the pathways for ministry are just so varied now that just watching them gives me a sense of hope for the way the church is going and how all these people are going to fit in and how they're going to